everyone, and welcome back to the Cup of Joe show. I'm Joe, that's Jeremy. We've got some movie talk to do. Alright, I've seen a couple movies, so I'm going to talk about them. Jeremy's not seen those movies, so he's not going to talk about them. But he's going to jump in every time I need help with saying something or coming up with definitions of words. Sometimes I have an inability to talk, so that's where Jeremy's going to come in. Let's start with Nightcrawler. Don't worry, I'm gonna get to Birdman. All you movie snobs out there, I'm gonna get to them, get to it. But to start with Nightcrawler. Nightcrawler is a movie about Jake Gyllenhaal and I guess about night crawling, which I really don't know if it exists. I haven't really looked it up, but it's a practice where stringers go out and they film news stories, try to get as graphic as possible, bloody. If it bleeds, it leads, is the phrase of the film.
That's for you, Kim.
Yeah, yes. So, so they go out and then they sell this footage to news stations and they lead with it in their broadcast. So again, I don't know if this exists, but Jake Gyllenhaal is looking for a job, and he's a thief. I mean, they established that really early that he's kind of crazy and he's not really the nicest guy, and it's kind of it's a bit of a plot device. He is driving on the highway and he just doesn't have a job or anything, and pulls over when he sees his car. It's on fire, and Bill Paxton shows up because, of course, he would show up because he's literally in every movie that has come out the past 2 years, and he's in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So he comes out and basically they run into him. Bill Paxton is filming the car, and Jake Gyllenhaal walks up and is like, "Oh, what do you do?" And that was the worst Jake Gyllenhaal impression I could have ever done in my life. But basically, how he talks in this movie, it's very calculating. It's very boom, 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 because he's cold and he's just he's like a robot, because he just doesn't really he doesn't really get people that well. He eventually, I'm not going to talk about it because it'll I don't think it's much of a spoiler, but you'll understand that he's not on the same level as people. Let's just put it that way. And he gives a great performance. So he's able to find out what night crawling is through Bill Paxton, and he decides to start to do it. And he gets one story, and then everything escalates. He has a rivalry with Bill Paxton, and it's a very intense thriller. Jake Gyllenhaal gives a great performance. Definitely Oscar worthy. I wouldn't be shocked to see him in February. And Rene Russo gives a really good performance, and geez, she's very old. Makes me feel old. Yeah, Rene Russo. I remember Rene Russo from the '90s, like Lethal Weapon and stuff. And yeah, she got old. Anyway, hope that's not the only thing you pull away from this show. But yeah, great performance, great shots. There's just the lighting they're able to capture Jake Gyllenhaal's face in certain ways in certain scenes where it's just like, oh my god, this guy's crazy. And Jake Gyllenhaal looks the part. You got to give him credit. I mean, he thinned out. You can really see in his face. It's just like his facial structure. It kind of looks kind of skeleton-like, and he looks the part. He plays the part well. It's a great performance by him, and it's a lot of it is driven by his performance. I definitely suggest seeing it. It's got a great finish as well. Very entertaining film. Um, so now, that's right, we got there. It's Birdman time. Birdman time. All right. Starring Michael Keaton in his Oscar-winning role as Riggin Thompson, aka Birdman. Um, we actually have the award here. I don't know where it is. Michael, he declined, but we'll give it to him because
we were trying to get him on satellite feed, but it didn't go through.
Exactly. Well, it'll be waiting here. We'll do a bunch of shows before the Oscars because apparently it's already yours. No, don't get me wrong. Michael Keaton gives a great performance of a man who is struggling between selling out and doing the superhero film Birdman and making billions of dollars, or doing this play and getting respect from the theater community. And the struggle throughout the film is interesting. The film is intense, based on the fact that probably the coolest part of this film is that it's one continuous shot, or it's made to look that way at least. There are obviously transitions, but they are not obvious, is the thing. It constantly goes from Michael Keaton to other characters. Emma Stone gives a fantastic performance in this film. Zach Galifianakis gives a great performance. Naomi Watts, Edward Norton. A lot of people have already given him the Oscar for Best Supporting Actor. So, I'm not going to take anything away from the film. It's a great film. It's a well-shot film. It's a well-acted film. It's got an interesting score. I'm not all over it as other people are. It's just a dude on the drums, and he's just drumming, which works for the film. Don't get me wrong, but if it wins best score, I'm not gonna be happy. But the score category is never one that I'm ever happy about. Anyway, let's see, where was I? Lost train of thought. I guess the thing that most bothers me about the film, I do not like the end or understand it. It actually kind of ruins it for me, if you will. I don't understand if if Michael Keaton's telekinesis is happening in his head, or if he really is telekinetic. They don't really, give you an idea of that. And honestly, and there are parts of the film where he's like flying around. But then it'll show him like walking somewhere, and like a cab driver will get out and just be like, he didn't pay me. So it's just like, oh, okay, it's just happening in his head. But then in other points it just doesn't make sense, as if like, okay, I guess he is telekinetic or whatever. But that's part of the film that doesn't work for me. And honestly, I don't even think it has to be in the film. I think if it just was him struggling with his inner demons, making him bipolar and everything, I mean, I think that was fine. Just adding that just made it confusing to me. But at any rate, it's a very good film. I do think it sort of panders to the theater community because it just hits on a lot of real life, thing. They even they even acknowledge real actors in the film, which is cool. I mean, they're just like, we need to get like that Avenger guy, Jeremy Renner. Let's get Jeremy Renner, and just like they actually acknowledge these real people, which really does bring you in. It's just like, okay, I do get it. I do understand what's going on here. I do think that's really cool, but it takes on a lot of themes that critics and people who are into movies really understand, and I think that's part of why people are really loving it, because they're just like, yes, this movie really speaks to me, and I think that people need to just take a step back. I want to see all the films. It's just really annoying because Little Scranton, PA, we don't really get much, and if we do, we get it for like a week. I swear to God, Whiplash and Rosewater
Mm-hmm.
were like here last week, and they're gone now.
Oh, I didn't
Yeah,
know.
yeah, exactly. Like that's like, are you kidding me? So I mean, but we'll try to see them, you know, and we'll see how that goes. But as far as now, apparently Birdman has won. It's over. So why should we even see the other films? Honestly. All right, Jeremy, you ready to talk? Do you have like? Do you need to like? You need water or something to kind of oil? You're good to go.
What do I need oil for?
Oil can. You know, the Wizard of Oz. Come on. Anyway, we're gonna go to Jeremy.
I understood that
reference. The Avengers. All right, so we're gonna pass it over to Jeremy, who's gonna talk to you about the box office.
Indeed, I am. Okay, so as always, we'll start with the number 5 film from last weekend. That was Gone Girl. That fell just 27% to 4.6 million. Total of 152.6 million. Still sticking around. You know, this movie just isn't going away. As it stands, could make 165-ish, shot at 170. It's also doing very well overseas. So, just a big hit all around. Number 4 was Beyond the Lights, and that opened to 6.2 million. I have absolutely no idea what this movie is. I don't know anyone in it. I don't know any details of its plot. I was kind of hoping it wouldn't make the top 5. It did, so it exists. And that's not a good opening, regardless.
Right.
So number 3 was Interstellar. That fell 40% to 28.3 million. Total of just under 97 million. That hold is it's good. It's not spectacular, but it's also far from a disaster. I would have been concerned if it fell like 50-55%, and very, very pleased if it fell like 30%. It's can't talk. It's a pretty sizable drop compared to Gravity. So, and at this point, it's obvious that Interstellar isn't going to come anywhere even close to Gravity's final gross, which of course is a travesty. But Interstellar is doing all right for itself. We have Thanksgiving coming up, so it should do well. I can't see it hitting 200 million at this point, which is unfortunate. But total around 175 or so might be reasonable. Number 2 was Big Hero 6. That was down 38% to 34.7 million. Total of 110.3. Much like Interstellar, that's a good, if unspectacular, hold. It's a couple percentage points more than Wreck-It Ralph, which fell more around 32-33%, I think, but Big Hero 6 did open more. So, as far as a kids movie goes, that had a pretty good opening. That's, that drop is about right. It should do very well over Thanksgiving weekend and into the holidays. So at 110, still running pretty far ahead of the pace of Wreck-It Ralph. I would still say head toward about 225. But our number 1 movie was Dumb and Dumber 2. And that opened to 36.1 million. And I gotta say, that was more than I expected. I was thinking mid to upper 20s. I would not have been floored if it failed to even hit 20. But, people love nostalgic things from the 90s. And the original movie is, it's a classic, very quotable. So you make a sequel to that, bring the characters back, and people are going to go see it. People that aren't us. I love the original, and I just feel like this would not be anywhere near as funny and just kind of ruin it, so I don't want to have that happen. But anyway, you slice it, that's a really good opening. It's a few million higher than last year's Bad Grandpa, so Dumb and Dumber 2, and I keep coming back to Thanksgiving, but Dumb and Dumber 2, should also be, helped out a bit by, I think it'll fall a lot this weekend, but then kind of level off on Thanksgiving. So it's got a shot at 100 million. The original Dumb and Dumber actually had really good legs way back in 1994. And it's obvious that the sequel isn't going to have anywhere near those, but, I think it'll do plenty all right for itself.
You're excited for that turkey, aren't you? Or stuffing. What's your
I
favorite?
love stuffing.
You love
That's
stuffing?
my favorite part.
Oh, stuffing is great.
It's the best.
So, yeah, I think the things that really stuck out for me was, first of all, Gone Girl is still in the top 5. Really, it's just a testament to how good that film really was.
And how bad the competition is.
That's true. And then there's also, I think Interstellar and Big Hero 6 really did have good, those are pretty solid drops, honestly. Nothing astronomical.
True.
I didn't mean that pun. But anyway, yeah, but solid. It's good to see, Interstellar's, I would love to see it make more than Gravity. And I thought about threatening that we would never do the show again, but I don't think anybody would care. So, so it's not really a threat. It's not really going to make people go out and see Interstellar like 18 times. But at least if you go to see something, just buy a ticket for Interstellar and then just go see the other thing. All right, we have a deal. All right,
yeah.
Deal. Cool. All right. And that's doing gangbusters overseas, right? It's almost
doing very well.
Yeah, it's like it's at 300 some worldwide now, I believe. So it's obviously going to be fine. All right, so now let's move on to this weekend's upcoming films. Is it 6? Okay, so we have 3 minutes. Let's just talk about Mockingjay. Does that work?
Yeah.
Is anything else coming?
I don't think so. Nothing important.
All right. Kick it off, Jeremy.
Okay, Mockingjay is the third film in the movie series based on the popular Hunger Games novels by Suzanne Collins, and they have been very, 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 very successful to date. Both of the first 2 movies opened over 150 million, made over 400 million total, which is obviously incredible. And now we're getting part 1 of the final chapter because all these things have to split them to make more money now. So I think that, in my personal opinion, Mockingjay is the worst book, and that seems to be the general consensus that it's the weakest of the 3. But we'll see how the movies go for Mockingjay. I still really like the series. Jennifer Lawrence, I'm sure, continues to kill it in the lead role, so it should. I'm excited.
I am not excited. To be honest with you, everything what I expected from this film is that it's just going to be a build up to the next one, and nothing's really going to happen in it. And all the reviews I've been seeing, everyone's just been saying nothing really happens in this film. And I'm like, okay, well that's not good. And that's what I figured. I read the book, so. And what's annoying is probably the coolest part of the movie is when she shoots down that flying thing, helicopter, hovercraft. Yep. Yeah, that's probably the only action that happens in the entire film. So I'm not excited. I'm annoyed that they split it into 2 movies. I think the only film series I really had the right. All right, I honestly think The Hobbit had the right because I really have enjoyed those first 2 films, and this next one seems like it's going to be epic. Although I believe they've added things to that, so that helps.
That's an understatement.
Yeah. So. Yeah, not I believe, like it has. I'm sorry, what's the time?
1920.
Okay. All right. So honestly I'm not very excited for this film, and it's probably just going to annoy me when I leave the theater, and it's just like that was just boring. And I'm upset that I have to wait for the second part. It won't be as bad as the first Twilight movie, but it's just going to leave you with that meh feeling. That's my opinion, but that's it. And again, it probably is the weakest book, honestly, and all the action really happens in the second half. So We'll see. Unfortunately, I have once again talked away the show, and have a good week.